Hello, everybody. Brian Martin with you once again on the wide world of tabletop sports, welcoming you to our second video in the Affinity by Canvas series. You'll notice that I have a little workspace worked out, got a few goodies already on the table, ready to go. We're going to show you how you create all of these and what you can do with them as we go along. So this is going to be a video that's going to be about the basics, setting up how your card's going to look, the type of shapes you want to feature, and then later on we'll get into things like we'll do a little bit of things of embedding and color transforming and things like that. Now, later on, we will get into the real meat and potatoes of it, which is the data merge feature. Once you've created and crafted the look of the card, what do you put in and on the card? Because you could create a card and duplicate it, replicate it over and over and over again, and fill in all the stuff by hand. But it's going to take you, let's say you're doing a baseball season and you have 25-man rosters in a 10-team league. You're going to have to do 250 different cards where you're manually entering the data. That's crazy. So we'll be getting into those elements later, but this is just to give you a sense of show you how some of the things work, where some of the buttons are that you'll be using to navigate this process, and we'll give you little hints and tips that you can use as we go. So the first thing, we're going to start our navigation right here along the toolbar here on this side and work our way from the top down through the different elements that you use most often. There are other elements you can use, there are other shapes you can use, but for the most part, you're going to stick with some basic shapes, some basic elements, and you'll learn how to modify those and do different things with them. So the first thing we're going to get into is the text box. You can see we have a text box here, and you can see that I have my layer for my text box, which is right here. Once I click that layer and highlight the text box, these little handles that pop up here, I can drag the text box anywhere I want. I can also tilt the text box. If you go down here to this this window for transformation, you'll see these two windows. It says R and S. R stands for degrees of rotation. S stands for degrees of slant. So if I want to rotate this shape 90 degrees, I'll put in, I can use the scroll bar here and change it, or I can just type in a number relative to 90. So I'm going to type in 90. It's regular 90. And you'll notice that that text box now is turned 90 degrees. So I could actually have this text box come along this side here. Have maybe the team name up the side, like some of the old baseball cards used to have. That's one way to do it. I can also do a negative 90, and that flips it in the other direction. I can do a 45, and now it's angled. Now, you might not have much need for angling of these things because you're dealing with a square card, but you might have that. If you want to set it back to the normal, there you go, 0. Now, what if I want to do something, make this a little smaller? I didn't extend it. What if I want to do something where I slant the box? Now I'll do my slant. Let's say I want to do 15 degrees. Let's put in 15. Now it slants to the left. So I have an italicized to the left. If I do a negative 15, it slants to the right. So it took a normal text and italicized it. So for certain fonts that you may download for yourself or have that don't have an italics function, this is a way to get something in italics. It's to use these things. So when they're set at 0 and 0, you're good. It'll be straight across, horizontal, and the text will be straight up and down. Of course, you can also go into the text here, and you can pick another font. Here, let's do this Broadway. Now it's different. You can change it. This only has one way, regular. That's all it has. So you'll notice that bold and italics are not available, but underline is. You can underline it. You can use this to scroll down to 5-point font or 20-point font. Remember, these cards are These cards are like 44 millimeters by 67 millimeters. So you're not going to be able to use a lot of large fonts. You're going to be using fonts between 7 and 12 points, but mostly in the 8, 9, 10 point font range. So that would be how you edit that. You can also edit the color. Here's the color of the font. And a number of different, you can have different shades of gray. You can do different hatches, cross hatches in behind. You can do gradients where there's only the black, so no one's going to black colors. You can do Pantone, and then you get a whole range of colors across the entire spectrum. Pick and choose any one you want. You can do just a standard set of base colors. You can just go to the color and do the HSL color wheel, or you can do RGB sliders, where you can type in, and now that's your color. Now we change that, and we'll click there, and your text now is that color. So lots of things you can do with color. I'm going to go back to swatches, and the most recent swatches are here. This little one that's you got a hash mark is transparent or blank, and it whites it out. Text is still there. And we know that because we can make it black, and it shows up. You also have the text background color. You can put a color in behind the text if you like. I'm going to do yellow, and you'll notice there's a highlight in behind the text. So that is how you can play with a text box. So let's use the text box. Once you click on it, you'll notice that there's a tool, and it has a little T, and it has a little dot that pops up every now and then. Let's do a team header. Let's start right here. Let's draw across, and let's go down here and say that tells me that the width is 41 millimeters and the height is 4.7. Let's make that 4 millimeters. And then what we'll do is we'll take, whenever you select this box here, you're not creating new, you're allowed to move it. So here's what you can do. You can move it. I put a rectangular box in around here. You can see the rectangle to try and get this to work. I think I have too many elements over here that are getting in the way. So we'll move a couple. By having this rectangle here with the border, it allows me to then take the shape that I'm working with, this text here, and move it. See that green line? That means you are now centered within the box. And if you move it down where the green and red meet, you have that right now in the center of the card. So we're going to put this up here. We're going to center it across the top. We're going to start it there. And then in the text box, we're going to go and say, see if we can do this here. Oh, hang on a second. Got my font set to the wrong color. Hang on a second. Oh, there we are. Let's do this. Let's go to a font that I really like using for cards. It is for hockey cards. I like using it. It's called Play. And we're going to reduce the font to 10 point. And then what we can do, we can either recalibrate that back, and drag the bottom back to where it needs to be, or just type in 4. And that will get me a 4-point font. So we're going to do, now, I always like to have the last names capitalized for players. We're going to do Bernie Perrant. And for those of you who are Flyer fans, Bernie passed away recently, and the Flyers are spending this weekend doing a tribute to him. So we'll do a tribute to him. There's Bernie Perron. That's how you use a text box to make that happen. So the next thing you can do is we go down this next button here, and it's the table tool. You can see I've got a table here. Tables are great for doing ratings. So for example, I'm going to use and they won't be in the right spot, so bear with me. It'll be speed, hit, skill, power, star. Let's do those. And let's say that we want to make this, we highlight that, and we have this thing here that says, I want to align everything to the right. That's this button here. This button aligns everything top to bottom. So we're going to highlight the whole table, and we're going to highlight and center them vertically. And then for this column, we're going to go back up here because I accidentally did it and align it right. So that would be that particular one. And if we want to, we can go back in, highlight all the cells by just dragging, and go in and choose the play font and do it. Let's do the ratings at 10 point, because the player name probably be bigger than anything else. And then we just have to figure out where on the thing we're going to put this table. So let's just, once again, if you want to move it, click this arrow button. It doesn't allow you to edit. It just allows you to move. So I can move this table. Let's say we want to put it right in the middle of the thing. And let's say we want to move it in from the edges. And let's just say now we want to again center it because it's not quite perfect. There we are, right in the center. We put that part of the card right in the center of the card. We're good to go. Now, other things you can do with tables. Let's pull this table up over here. Notice that I've got some blue here. And I've got this centered. Well, we've already done how you can center things either vertically or horizontally. How do you get the color? Over here is the table tab. And then you have the stroke and fill tab, which is for cells. And you can see here that you can highlight one of these to determine which borders are going to change. They're black. I can make them blank, transparent. And then I can pick and choose to fill the cell. So if I go to this cell here and just highlight this row, I can say, I want to fill that with red. There you go. There's red. Let's go to the top row here. Let's say I want to fill that with green. And I want to make the text yellow. So again, I'm going to highlight these two cells, go up here and choose yellow. And now I have an unreadable yellow on green. So again, we're going to do these cards over here in black and white at first. So this is just giving you a taste of where these different things are. You can play around with it, mess around with things, change the font. So, you know, this particular font we're not going to do Arial, we're going to do Bauhaus. So now that has a more 70s sort of look to it. And so again, that's the table function. The next thing you have, the next button, is generally ignored for creating cards. It's this artistic button that allows you to create like word art. Think word art in Word. It's not usable. The fonts are always too big. The fonts are unreadable at certain small sizes. It's just something you won't want to use for the most part for what you want. So we'll go to the next one, a pen. This is the pen tool. And I've drawn with the pen right here, this line. This line could go somewhere. We'll figure that out in a second. To draw, you have different things. You have this pen mode where it will draw any shape you want. This one will draw curve. Smart mode, it will figure out what you're doing. This one is in polygon mode to create any kind of quadrilateral, quintilateral shape. And this is the one you want for lines, line mode. So when you do that, let's say we want to put a line right below Bernie Perrant. So there's where the line's going to start, right there in that box. Draw across to the end. And let's say you made a mistake and you let go there. Oops. Uh-oh. That's a problem. No, not really. Go back to your selector arrow. And once you do that, look what's happened here at the bottom. The rotation is 2.4 degrees. And you want to make that 0. Straightens your line out for you. The line is 41.3 millimeters wide. Well, let's take a look at that text box. That text box is 41.3 millimeters wide, so the line now is exactly the length of the text box. And it's a thin line. You want to make it stand out. Here when you click on the line, just pick the line here. That's your element. Go up here to this corner in the line. This tells you whether the line is a solid line or not. It also tells you what size it is, and I'm going to make it, let's just say 2.5. Now it's a darker line. I've got the color of the line here. Let's say we'll make it orange in honor of the Flyers. And now Bernie has an orange line underneath his card. So the card is starting to get a little color, a little culture, if you will. It's starting to look like something that's a little more artistic, a little different from what we want to do. Let's say you like the idea of having that line above Bernie's name. So you just go there, the element, the line. You will right click it and do duplicate. It duplicates the line right below it. Notice how it's orange there? Click on, it always duplicates below this one here. You'll notice it's highlighted. Click on it. Drag it up above the box. Oops, too far. Above the box. And now Bernie Perrant's card has a nice orange flyer line above and below. Looks good. So that's how you use the line tool. The next tool is the rectangle tool, and you can see all of the different things you can draw. Mostly you're going to stick with the rectangle, the ellipse, or the rounded rectangle tool. You may have a need for some of these other ones, but again, you're dealing with a lot of text elements, so you need things that are going to be able to be oblong or square or whatever. Let's do a rounded rectangle. We have one right here. This is a rounded rectangle, this one right here. Let's do one specifically for what we're doing. So click on this. The rounded rectangle is this element here, and once you click it, it now allows you to create the rounded rectangle. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create this rounded rectangle right there. Now you'll notice that the line is thick. That's because the line is set to the last line we had. So we're now going to go from 2 point to a half a point. We're not going to do orange. We're going to do black. And because the last element that we made had color in it, we're going to have to go to the rectangle and put the transparent on there. And now click over here to turn that off. We'll click on the mover, the pointer, drag that up here, and then we're going to make this and we're going to make it just a little bit smaller. Click on where's the round rectangle I'm looking for? It's this one. It's 4 millimeters high. Let's do 3.8 millimeters high. Oh, let's do 3.5. And let's pull the top down just a little tiny bit. We'll just keep playing with this. Let's make it 3 millimeters high. And we'll pick this and we'll drag this down. There we go. Look at that. Now Bernie's name is inside a rounded rectangle that gives them a sort of the appearance of a hockey rink, that elongated rounded corner. Again, you might not want to do this, but when you see what we can do with these things next, you might change your mind a little bit. So that's the rounded rectangle. You can do an ellipse. I have one here, and you can do that by choosing the ellipse, and you can make an oval. You can squinch that oval down. You can square it off the middle. And if you want to make it even, again, down here in the corner, this is 11.2 by 5.9. Let's make it 6 by 6. And now you have a perfect circle, just like this one. We won't put that element, we won't put on right now because I'm going to show you something else that will substitute for that. Next element is the trapezoid. I've got one built here, and we're going to draw one right down here. And you'll notice there are two little red buttons right here. You can drag those buttons. Drag those buttons to create a trapezoid with different. You can actually make it so that one side is that way and this side is way over here. And let's say you made that 4 millimeters high. Okay. Maybe, again, we pick the selector button so we can move it. Maybe put it right there. Maybe that's where the team name is going to go. Who knows? It looks maybe a little cool to you. I don't know. Maybe you've got an idea. I don't know. But it's an element. We can play with it later. Next, we're going to talk about picture frames. There's two kinds of picture frames, the square and the circle. I have a square one here. I have a circular one here. And the circular, those are basically going to be used for putting in logos. So let's draw one. This is what it looks like. This one here is what it looks like when you haven't drawn it yet. So we just click on the circle and we'll just put it on there and we can make it, let's say we'll make it 12 by 12. Okay. Let's say we've thought about it and we just don't like that trapezoid. You can move it off to the side by using the selector here and dragging it over. Or you can just right click on the trapezoid and delete it. That's what we're going to do. Because we want the logo. We want a logo. Now that looks pretty doggone big, don't you think? Probably. Let's make it 9 by 9. Drag this down into the corner again. And again, we can play around with the spacing. We've got it to the left. Put it that close to the end. Now, up here, you'll notice that there are some properties for the picture frame. One of which is it has a border. I'm not going to have a border on it. I'm going to click that to that. And now the picture frame has you can see the border, but you won't when the picture's in there. Then I'm going to go back and click on it, and you'll see where it says replace image. So I am going to replace the image. I'm going to go, and I'm going to find my Flyers logo and put it in there. And you'll see the Flyers logo is way too big for that. Now you may want that. Say, I just want a hint. You know how in Score Bugs on TV, they'll have a piece of the logo, not the whole thing. So you get an idea of the logo and your brain fills in the rest. So we'll do that. And then up here we have properties. Scale to maximum fit, scale to minimum fit, stretch to fit, or none. We're going to do scale to minimum fit. And now you'll notice the Flyer logo is now there and there's nothing around it. There's no border. There's nothing. Okay. So that's how you do that. And you can do the same thing for a rectangular picture frame, utilizing the replace image function to go over here and say, let's do Let's do what do I have that's like long? Let's do the USPL. That's my league logo. USPL with that would be a league logo that you could put in somewhere. You can change when you go to the picture frame, and that would be this picture frame. You can click on the picture, and right here you'll see opacity. I can make it 50%. And when I do that, I can drag this up here. Oh, hey, sorry about that. We'll edit and undo. Put the whole thing down here and move picture frame in its entirety up here. The logo. The logo's disappeared. You know what? We're going to delete this whole thing. That's the best part about this is we can play around with it. You get the idea. I don't want to spend a lot of time doing this. So we're kind of coming up with a card. We know it's Bernie Perrant. We made little orange lines for the Flyers, or the Flyers logo on it. We have some of his ratings, although as a goalkeeper, he wouldn't have these ratings. Now let's go to the next thing, which is the place tool. The place tool you'll only use in certain situations, and what that does is it would allow you to have an element that you place that you can have appear on every card everywhere. So 426 Studios is my fictitious design company. So we can have 426 Studios appear on every card as a placeholder, and it will stay in that place on every card no matter what I do with everything else. And then finally, the last thing we have is the data merge layout tool, which we will get to later on. So let's do one or two more things before we leave, and that is let's get rid of the placeholder and get rid of this 426 Studios thing. I'm going to delete it out of there. You can hit delete, or you can right click and hit delete. I want to do this. See how I've got ooh and ah here? So I've got this element here, which you can see is this rectangle, and I've got this element, which is here. If I watch the element, watch this green line appear. See that green line right there? This green line appears as the item moves between layers. If the green line extends all the way across that element, it's not part of the element. So ooh ah is actually there by itself. If I move it and drop it on the rectangle, you'll notice that it's an arrow appears showing that ooh ah is in there, and it's moved over, it's indented. That means these two things are now locked together. When I move this item over on top of that item, oh, sometimes the tangled web we weave. Let's make sure that it is black. You know what? I'm going to do this a little differently. We're going to delete that, and we're going to delete this rectangle. Let's just do it from the get-go. We're going to get a rectangle. Let's do a rounded rectangle. And my apologies, I don't have this scripted. I'm going to do a rounded rectangle. We're going to do that right there. And then we're going to create a word box that we're going to put just inside the rectangle. Okay. We'll move that, and we'll put in And we'll make this play logo. And we'll make it 8 point. It's the team logo, not nearly as important as the other. And we've got this rounded rectangle that we're going to make with a border, a black border of 1 point instead of a half point. Make this 1 point. Very good. And then what we're going to do is going to take this and find it. Should always name these things. Let's see, get the rounded rectangle. I can find it. For some reason this is not working the way I want it to. That's the frustrating part of doing all this. Is I have no idea why this is not highlighting. I don't know what I clicked incorrectly, so I'll have to go back, edit. Okay. That's where I went wrong. So at the rounded rectangle, again, you can always go back, and we're going to set the line to black, and we're going to set that to 1.0. And now we have that. So we take that rectangle. Now we have the word Philadelphia Flyers. We're going to move that into the rounded rectangle. It's going to drop it right on top of it. Now you'll see that they are wedded together. So that when I click on the rounded rectangle and I go to move it, everything moves. Notice, see that red line? It means it's centered on the Philadelphia logo that you see there. And we can take this and move it over. See that green line that just popped up, very thin green line? That means I'm over to the end, and I'm finding that I have too much in the thing, so that my thing is too big, so I'm going to now right justify this and just say Flyers instead of Philadelphia. I could do both, but I need a smaller font. And so now we have that. And so the card has now started to come in to a clearer, sharper focus. And we can see that we've built some elements that work together and are put together so that they work together. So for example, I can say that I want this rounded rectangle at the top. It says Bernie Perrant. Let's say I move that like that. And I go, I'm going to drag this rounded rectangle up here above these lines. And I'm going to take the Bernie Perrant one, I'm going to put it in between the lines. And let's say I put these together, all four, and go to layer and say group. Now it's all together as a single group. And when I go to pick the selection, watch what happens. Everything goes with it. Again, I line it up to the center, I line it up near the top. Now I can take the individual elements and play with them. So for example, I can take the Bernie Perrant element, the text box, move it more toward the center of the shape. See the red line? That means that the center of the shape. I can take the top line, move it down. Oops, wrong one. Take the top line. Take the top line. Or let's take the bottom line. move it just below Bernie, take the top line, and move it just above Bernie. And I can have like a hockey rink look and feel to it. I can take these three elements together and they'll drag together, and there's the middle right there. Got that. I can take this rounded rectangle and bring it down a little bit, bring it up a little bit, and now I have that element. And that is how you can start playing around with the different design elements and how you can group things so that keep together. One of the things that you will do at the end is once you have your card built, you will group all of the elements together. You'll get them in order on the page so that you can follow the order of the items down the left. You'll group them together and call it like player card, and then you'll save that as an asset. And you can always use that particular player card for that particular thing. So that is how we use the basics of Affinity by Canva to start to create cards that look the way we would like them to look. And you're on your way. Practice, 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 practice. Take plenty of time to work through everything, figure out what you're doing, make mistakes. The edit button, the edit undo button is your friend. It's actually edit, undo, clear selection, etc. It'll undo everything. It keeps track of it all the way back to the first keystroke that you made, and you're good to go. We're going to save this canvas because we are going to use it again as we continue on from this very basic Bernie Perrant card to something else. So, as always, my good friend Jeff Bring says, life is nice when rolling dice. Hopefully you're rolling your dice as often as you can, enjoying the games you're playing, and oh, by the way, until the next time we meet on the wide, wide world of tabletop sports, Brian Martin saying, so long, everybody.